Peacemaker, I think he's just, super strong. His martial arts skills aren't as refined as Judomaster, but he's so much bigger than Judomaster. So when the two of them go head to head, it's sort of more like a bronze versus brains scenario.
I am Russ Milheim from the Direct. Thank you so much for talking to me today about the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Nice meeting you.
Well, so we actually did talk like years ago. It feels like a whole different reality now because season one was so long ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was what, 3 years ago since that first aired?
Yeah. It's been a second. It has been a
Oof.
second. And the world's a very different place now, especially for the DCU. But my first question is just kind of in your mind, or if you know exactly the answer to this question, where has Judo Master been? Since we last see him, like off camera, what has he been doing?
Since we've last seen him, he failed at saving Project Butterfly from the 11th Street kids. So now I think he's sort of a freelance mercenary. And after episode 3, you see that he gets enlisted with Argus, so he's gonna join their team to bring down the Peacemaker.
He does seem to have a little bit of a hatred for Peacemaker, which makes sense. Which makes sense. Well, I think that's a good segue into. We haven't seen this yet in the show, but it is in the trailer. You guys do get to, throw fists. You get to have another little fight. Can you tease while both filming that? Can you talk about filming that scene and then just also tease the clash that you guys get to finally have, a little rematch, as it were?
Yeah, it's always fun when Judomaster goes up against Peacemaker because Judomaster's very skilled martial artist, and Peacemaker, I think he's just, super strong. His martial arts skills aren't as refined as Judomaster, but he's so much bigger than Judomaster. So when the two of them go head to head, it's sort of more like a bronze versus brains scenario. But for that fight scene, we did a bit of rehearsing beforehand, and then we were shooting that in the height of summer in Atlanta. So it was a little rough, but it looks great.
It definitely, well, I used to live in Atlanta, so I know how hot it can get, and I can't, yeah. Being in those costumes must have been very miserable.
Yeah, and I think what really stood out for me was when we were showing up on set, we would look at the call sheets, and for those days on the call sheet it said snake wranglers. And there were two or three of them on set. And so I asked about it, and they said, they had to like comb through those part of the woods that we were shooting in to make sure there weren't any, venomous snakes that could harm anyone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what we were thinking about.
It's not a surprise you want in the middle of a very hot work day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, there obviously have been a lot of changes to the DC universe since we last were with these characters. There's been this big reset. But with all of that, would you say that coming into this to season two, due to that reset, are there any notable differences or changes to Judo Master since we last saw him, or is he pretty much the same everything we've seen up to this point?
I think they handled the reset in episode 1 as, the majority of the things that happened in season 1 are canon. Um, And so I think just little segments here and there. So in terms of Judo Master, not much has changed in the flip from, one to the other.
Did you have any when all this was still unknown, back when James Gunn was brought on board to kind of do this new DCU, did you have any like worries just personally? You were like, "Oh no, what's going to happen to Judo Master?" What was that like behind the scenes for you as we were all waiting to see how they were going to do this?
Yeah, behind the scenes for me it was a bit worrisome, not in the sense that, I know that James loves Peacemaker and he loves the storyline, and James and the fans seem to love Judomaster. So in that regards, I wasn't super concerned, but there's always still that doubt. But then when he took over as the head of DC, there were other priorities that, he had to tend to, Superman being the sort of the tent pole in which everything fills out from. So that pushed our timeline back a little bit, but I'm glad it worked the way that it did because now the Peacemaker storyline is sort of filling out, and it's not just events that happen in Evergreen. It's, events that happen in all of the DC universe.
We mentioned Judomaster kind of went through this massive loss last season with Project Butterfly. And he even kind of he brings it up in this season. How would you say that that huge loss kind of affected him on a personal level and just, kind of who he is? How does he carry that weight with him throughout season two?
I think for him being a hero or a villain, however you want to categorize him, it's every mission that he goes on is very important to the way that he views how the world could become a better place, So when Project Butterfly failed, he said, well, maybe that's not the way to save humanity anymore. So then he does what he thinks is right, which for season two would be joining with Argus.
Another interesting dynamic you have this season is, and it's in your first scene this season, is with Steve Agee's John, Economos. Uh, Much to his chagrin, he's not a big fan of this little twist.
Right.
What was it like getting to have more scenes with him this season? And can you tease kind of how that dynamic will evolve?
It's really fun. During the first season, we filmed during COVID in Vancouver. So none of the cast really got to hang out outside of set. And even when we were on set, you were in your own private tent, with masks. And so having season two, we were all filming in Atlanta and we were staying maybe like 5 minutes apart from each other. So we got to hang out all the time. So when going through the script and seeing more scenes with Steve Agee's character Economos, it's very fun because it's as if we're just hanging out on set, um and I think some of the rapport definitely seeps through into the character because we just make fun of each other all the time. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
It is fun to watch you guys, just the hate emanating from both sides. And with season two, obviously, they couldn't drop the Cheeto gag, which is still there in full force. So how difficult is it to not get Cheeto dust all over your costumes? And, how mad did you make the costumers?
So the nice thing about this season is the props department who handles all the Cheetos. They brought me in a little bit earlier and they lined up, I think like 8 or 10 different types of Cheetos that I could choose from. So I went down the line for like, taste and color and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up choosing the one that was the most bland in flavor. Because, if I'm gonna be eating this for like the full day, I don't want it to be like, ugh, I'm so sick of eating these.
Yeah, yeah.
So we picked one that felt good. And then I think the for the Cheeto dust and the costume, he's someone who just wipes his hand on the costume and costume hasn't come to me yet about it. So, I think it's a character choice, even if his costume's a little orange from the dust.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the costume, with season two, was it like, were you given basically the same exact costume, or were there like changes made to it at all? Even like subtle, like practical ones for you as an actor to be able to go in and out of the suit consistently?
We had a fitting before season two started for this costume. And It, yeah, everything fit, as it should, and not much has changed for me physically. So it was just sort of like putting on a glove and remembering how to do it. Because we had a different costume department this time around.
Yeah.
So it was, figuring out the best way to do stuff and like how to do whatever it is when I need to like use the bathroom or, eat or whatever it is.
So, part of this show is particularly season two are the alternate dimensions. And one of those dimensions, we see Peacemaker find as basically perfect reality for himself. So hypothetically, if Judomaster had his own kind of like, if we saw the perfect version of Judomaster in one of these alternate dimensions, what do you think that looks like? What is Judomaster's like perfect life, perfect outcome? What does a perfect Judomaster
Mm.
look like to you? Hypothetically.
Hypothetically, I think Judomaster is such a loner in this world. I feel like if he were to choose one, maybe he would be like a nice family man. He goes to like his 9 to 5 and like is happy going to barbecues and pool parties and stuff. Because in this world, he's sort of a loner and doesn't really have friends. So I think it would be an interesting twist for him mentally to have all the things that he doesn't have in this world.
Yeah. It is all that's kind of the fun part about alternate dimensions and parallel, universes is being able to explore those what ifs. And it's such a, dramatic gold mine that obviously is paying off with Peacemaker, but pulling back to the wider DCU, your character actually technically appeared in Creature Commandos in a nightmare sequence that saw you impaled on a spike, as it were. Did you know that that was going to happen before it did?
They did not preempt me to that. Um, and I think we I think we were either currently filming season 2 when I saw that. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Um, because like there were parts in some of the episodes that were like fully redacted. So like, some of the scenes like we didn't know what was going on. So I'm like, did something happen to Judo Master, So yeah, that was a total surprise for me.
It was fun. It was fun to be able to pick apart all the people, and I was like, oh hey, look, it's Judomaster. What's he doing there? Have you had any conversations with James Gunn about where Judomaster could appear outside of Peacemaker?
I have not had conversations with him about it. But I just trust in the way that he tells stories and plots um and I think it's nice, especially showcasing season 1 where each of the 11th Street kids, they sort of, have their own little tangents here and there. And then by the final episode, everything sort of lands, even stuff like with Diebeard from like episode 1. It's so nicely like tied up. And yeah, I'm excited to see what James has in store for Judo Master.
Do you have like a what is your dream scenario? What is there a DCU like hero or just DC Comics hero or supervillain that you would really love to see Judo Master interact with in any way?
I would love for Cheeto Master to interact with Bane because comic like they have history and um part of that is Bane like breaking Cheeto Master's back and killing him. So I would sort of like to see that how that plays out and if if my if my if there's anything that I could do to influence that outcome, maybe something slightly different than, the
Maybe not
finality of
die.
Judo Master.
Yeah. Yeah, Judo Master's future isn't looking too bright. You got either impaled on a spike or back snapped by Bane. So which one is better?
Right. Right. Ugh, you never know.
Yeah. Now, jumping back to Peacemaker, looking at season two, what what was the most like with the arc and what you were able to do with Judo Master? Can you tease kind of what you were able to explore this season that you just weren't really able to do in season one at all?
In this season, it's nice for Judo Master because he does get to work with a team, whereas in season 1, it was him going against the 11th Street Kids or, him going against different um like characters. And for season 2, he sort of gets work with a group and you can see the dynamics of that. And it's always fun getting to play with any of the cast members.
Do you think can Peacemaker and Judomaster ever make amends? Are they always going to be at each other's throats? Is there a world?
I don't know, maybe in a different dimension, but in ours, Judomaster sort of has beef with every single member of the 11th Street Kids, so yeah, I'm not sure.
I want to quickly jump back to the costume itself. The costume is great, and they didn't make many changes or any changes into season two. But say there's a season three, and they go, "All right, what do you want from the costume? What would you like to see like evolved or changed? Is there any like changes you would love to like play around with when it comes to Judo Master's signature look?"
Oh, that's tough because I really like the costume. Um, the only thing is like it's skin tight. And so like if I eat a big lunch, like you're gonna see it. So um and then yeah, maybe the cowl that he wears, it's not comfortable at all. Um, but in a way, it sort of helps get me into the Judo Master mindset because, I'm like nice and friendly, and then right when you put the cowl on, it's like,
It's like, "Fuck this again."
right. So maybe it's a character choice,
Maybe it could be updated to like a helmet that you can take off.
right? Yeah, because it's a whole thing. Like it goes under my shirt, so I have to take that part off, and like, oh, just thinking about it,
Hey,
it's
well,
stressing me out.
hopefully you'll have to go through all of that again when Peacemaker gets its third season and become
Yeah,
like a big part of the story there.
right.
But yeah, so well, thank you so much again for talking to me about the show. I know that episode three just aired, so it's the start of your journey this season, and I can only imagine there's some crazy things coming our way. That's what we keep being told. So
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm super happy with this season and I think the fans will love it. It's funny, it's heartwarming, it's got action, it's so good.
yeah, well, but thank you again, and I look forward to. I've seen the first five episodes, so I
Oh,
just gotta
perfect.
we'll wait for the last three.
Oh, so you already know what's going on, but
I
this is
did well
coming in episode
generally.
3.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The last three I hear, they were like, "Yeah, it's crazy," and there's a reason why we didn't send them out.
All right.
And I'm
Oh.
like, "All right, well then this better live up to the hype."